This is Jocko Podcast number 91 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
And we are rolling straight into Q&A today, so questions from the interwebs.
Sure.
Echo Charles, go.
Yes. Go. Okay, first question. Jocko, I've just finished About Face, the book. Amazing book. Interested how you modeled your style on Hackworth, though. Hack was a renegade and always bending the rules to the breaking point, but in Extreme Ownership, you talk about, for example, not pushing back on higher command when it came to Iraqi troops. I've listened to podcast 2, but was hoping you could go into it a bit more.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good question. Hack, he was kind of considered a renegade, but also he was also a total company man. Mm-hmm. You got to realize that there's that dichotomy there. There's a guy that Hack loved the Army. Mm. He loved the Army. He wanted his uniform would look super squared away. He followed all the rules and regulations. And he supported the leadership all the time when the leadership was right. Mm. And that's what makes him a good renegade, in my opinion. And I was very much the same way. I was all about the Navy. I was all about the dames. As a matter of fact, Tony, you know what Tony used to say? It was a little thing we got going in TU Bruiser that spread around, but of course it came from Tony first, which was all Navy all the time. We'd just be joking about, I think, I don't know what originally caused it, but like guys would make fun of me because I would wear like jungle boots or Danner boots out on Liberty with a pair of like old jeans. Yeah, because when you're like that kind of old, just raised in the teams, you don't even know any different. And you're like, oh, well, I'm going out and I need to wear shoes. Cool. Where's my jungle boots? That's what you end up like. And you're into it. You're not like, you think it's good. You think it's normal. Like this is the way things are.
That's how,
and so I supported the teams. And Hack supported the Army, of course. But this is the thing. If the leadership was wrong or there was something being passed down that was wrong, and it was a big wrong. Like if it was little, I wouldn't be like, oh man, this is crap. They're making us wear a different pair of shorts now. Because like that would happen. Like some new commanding officer would come in and change something, right? Yeah. And some guys would go, oh man, why we got to do that? It's like, dude, be quiet. Just be quiet. Yeah. They're giving you new shorts. Wear the new shorts. Yeah. They're telling us we can't wear baseball hats anymore. Cool, don't wear baseball hats. Yeah. And some guys would go, man, who cares? It's like, I don't care what I'm wearing on my head, Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you want to issue us different ball caps? Fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then if it was a larger issue, then, or obviously if it was something that was like actually wrong, like criminally wrong or morally wrong or something like that, then yeah, I'd be like, no, we can't do that. So the reason that I didn't push back on Iraqi troops and working with Iraqi troops when we got to Ramadi was because as I looked at it, I realized that it was the right thing to do. And yes, it was going to be more dangerous. And yes, it definitely took us out of our comfort zone. But as I explain in Extreme Ownership, if we didn't train those people up, if we didn't train the Iraqi soldiers and take them out and get them fighting and get them squared away on the battlefield, then Americans would have been doing it forever. So it was the correct call was to do that. Now, I've talked about the same thing when they told us a ratio. They gave us a ratio of how many Iraqis we had to have. For every one Iraqi, we had to have, I forget what the number was, 7, or for every one SEAL, we had to have 7 Iraqi soldiers. They said that. Something like that. I forget what the numbers were. And I said, that doesn't make sense to us because sometimes we only have 10 guys to go out and there's no way I'm sending only one SEAL with 10 Iraqi soldiers. Not doing it. Need a corpsman, need a radioman, need a machine gunner, need a leader. Like that's what I need. So, and when I pushed back, because I didn't push back against ball caps and because I didn't push back against some stupid uniform change, they were like, oh yeah, well that actually makes sense, Jocko. We don't want you to go in the field with only one SEAL. So I would clearly push back if it was something that didn't make sense. Same thing with like the martial arts training that they had us doing in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was not good. And I was told everyone, hey, this is not smart. This is not good. This training is dumb. We need to do other training that's better. And same thing, things go, like here's another like stupid example. They wouldn't want to issue a platoon the radios you were going to take on deployment because they didn't want you to break them or whatever. And so they'd issue not enough radios for everyone, and so now everyone doesn't know how to operate the radios, and you're basically operationally testing the radios while you're going through your workup. So I said, hey, this is garbage. Issue everyone radios.
Right.
If that's how we operate, that's how we need to train.
Gotcha. So in the training, they wouldn't issue the radios.
Yeah, there was like a time period where we were low on radios, and they said, we're going to keep these radios for deployment, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
I got a good idea. Buy more radios.
Yeah.
So those were things I'd push back on, and you were always pushing back on the type of training that was going to happen and how you're going to run the training. So when it made sense to push back, I pushed back, just like Hackworth did. Now Hackworth did it on a massive scale because he eventually pushed back on the way the war in Vietnam was being run. And had I been smart enough, and the war didn't take the shift that it took, and we didn't move towards counterinsurgency, and we didn't make those adjustments that Colonel McFarland implemented in Ramadi, maybe, I doubt it, maybe I would have been smart enough to say, hey, we're not running this war right. We need to do something different and run up the chain of command. But at the time, Colonel McFarland made great decisions. He had a great plan, a great strategy. So I was 100% on board. But if, Hackworth, that didn't happen. They were not fighting correctly against the Vietnamese. And they were taking massive casualties for a hill that 2 days later they've given back. And so he was saying, what are you doing? And the other thing, when he took over the hardcore battalion, they were fighting for months. And they had literally killed almost no enemy. I think it was zero. I think it was actually zero enemy, and yet they had taken all kinds of casualties themselves. And so he's saying, wait, this is wrong. Yeah. This is wrong. So I think that's what being a leader is. You support the stuff. You support the command. Yes, of course you support the command when it makes sense, and as long as it makes sense. And normally it's going to make sense. You know what I mean? Normally it's going to make sense. It's not like the admirals and the generals are saying, hey, how can we lose this war? Let's come up with a stupid strategy. No, they're doing the best they can. So it's not like it's a regular occurrence. I mean, like I said, when I was working for Colonel McFarland, he was a smart guy. He was a brilliant guy that had a great strategy. I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm here to support. And I'll tell you, when I did, and I think this is important, is that even though I was kind of a renegade, and I was more rebellious when I was a kid. Obviously, I was young when I got to the SEAL teams, and so we would push all those things that I said, oh, we got to do this. That was me when I was a E4 in the SEAL teams. Why do we got to do that? We should just be able to do whatever we want. We were just stupid. But as I got older, I realized that you need to come across as a renegade, quote unquote, to come across as a big rebel that doesn't. Well, immediately when you go and push back on something, everyone just dismisses you. Oh yeah, Jocko, he's just a loudmouth. He just pushes back against everything. He just want to do everything his way. No, you want them to say, oh wow, hold on a second. If Jocko's pushing back against this, then this must be something wrong here, because he doesn't push back against stuff. He toes the line all the time. So we should listen to him. That's what you want to build. That's what I did my best to build, and that's how I think it would be comparable to the way Hackworth led and the way that I tried to. Obviously, I ain't no Hackworth, but I stole as much as I could from him. And the weird thing is, I'll tell you this. I always say I stole from him, but it wasn't like I was sitting there reading the book and going, I'm going to do what he did here. I think it was just absorbed. And even the naming of Task Unit Bruiser, like when I did it, I wasn't thinking this is what Hackworth did, but it was real obvious that that's where I got it from. Like I didn't think I'm going to rename this and we're going to turn this thing around based on, or not turn it around, but we're going to build this based on. No, I was like, you know what? We're not going to be Task Unit Bravo because that sounds lame. We're going to be Task Unit Bruiser because that sounds awesome. And then later, as I look back, I'm like, oh God, that's exactly what Hackworth did. I obviously stole it from him. So appreciate it, Hack. But that's what I'd say. Be a renegade, but that should be in the background. That should be in the back of your mind. In the front of your mind should be, hey, I'm a supporter of what's happening.
Kind of like the willingness to be a renegade.
if you have to.
Yeah.
If you have to. And believe me, I've known all kinds of good SEALs that were too renegade.
Yeah. That's just like, I'm a renegade.
Yeah, they're just straight up, hey, I'm a renegade. And you know, that just, the only guys that could get away with that were guys that were so ultimately operationally squared away.
Yeah.
That people go, yeah, you know, he's kind of a maniac, but dude, he's really good and really tactically sound and all that, and they make that happen. Now, as you get more and more senior, homie, don't play like that anymore. After a certain point, it's done, and you got to play the game. That's what you got to do. As you get more senior, you got to play the game. And from like your subordinates' viewpoint, if they looked at me and go, oh, Jocko's just playing the game, he's just doing, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because this way it gives me more ability to control everything that's going to impact you, people that work for me. So yes, I'm going to play the game so you don't have to.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, yeah, check.
Yeah, man. Makes sense.